Our report really finds that economically, metropolitan areas are where the action is in states. In 47 out of the 50 states that we examined, metropolitan areas, that is, the collections of cities and their surrounding suburbs, and even some rural areas that connect to them, uh, generate a majority of economic output statewide. Even somewhat rural states such as Idaho, Iowa, the Dakotas, Nebraska are actually majority metropolitan in their makeup. Certainly there are monumental budget crises facing states right now, but really over the medium to long term, what's going to help states recover from those is economic growth. And I think there's just no avoiding the fact that that economic growth, because of where metropolitan areas are positioned, because of their assets, that's where the growth is going to come from. And that's where state economic and investment strategies need to focus. California, I think, as everybody knows, is facing a terrific budget crisis right now. That's really derivative of a longer run political crisis that the state's been dealing with for some time now. So it's at the point where it actually, I think, does pose a threat to the near-term economic recovery of the state. But when you step back for a moment and you look in particular at California's metropolitan areas, which comprise about 98, 99% of the state's economy, these places really have very strong economic fundamentals, if you will. So if you think about a place like the Bay Area, where it's positioned in the global marketplace for things like information technology, the Los Angeles area on entertainment, on trade and commerce coming through the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, San Diego on biosciences and advanced manufacturing, and then the Inland Empire, the collection of metropolitan areas that really go up the spine of California, which are global leaders in agriculture and agricultural services. These places really are positioned, I think, quite strongly for the medium and long term in terms of making California really a leader in the global economy. So, certainly big near-term threats to the budget, the economic recovery of California. Long run, I think the state's positioned quite well if it doesn't erode the assets that are really important to those metropolitan areas: human capital, research and development, and the infrastructure that connects them to each other and to the rest of the world. The challenge lies in states like Illinois, where the capital is in one place, and Chicago, which is about 3/4 of the state economy, is in another place. Washington State, where Olympia is here and Seattle is there, and the tug of war that goes on between states, their legislatures, and then the local and regional leaders in these metropolitan areas. So, I think the solution A lies in recognizing that the real economic, outsized value that these states get out of those metropolitan areas and investing in them in a way that's commensurate with that value. But B, strengthening the linkages between those metropolitan areas and the rest of the state. And that is rural areas, but it's also the smaller metropolitan areas that are feeders into that large metropolitan economy, that provide a lot of the goods and the services that are ultimately traded out of that metropolitan area, provide them with the human capital. So through things like infrastructure, education, securing and enhancing the efficiency of those pipelines between big metropolitan areas and the rest of the state, I think is a recipe for success, not only for those big metropolitan engines, but statewide.